Hello, this is the first lab as an introduction to Mathcad. It's specifically for CM1902 Maths 1B, but in general it could be used as revision for other courses or some sort of consolidation material. When you open up Mathcad, you'll see this window here, this window at the front with a welcome page. We can just shut that. We can also shut the window towards the bottom of the worksheet, the trace window, by clicking on the X, and that disappears. The next thing to do is, if it's not already displayed, we go up to View and Toolbars and then Math to display the Math toolbar, and that displays these characters at the top here. And if we just leave the mouse over them, you'll see there's a calculator toolbar which we can open, a graph toolbar which we can open and move around. There's a calculus toolbar, and there's some other toolbars in there as well, one for matrices. But at the moment we just need the calculator and the graph toolbars open. Now any work that we write should go into the worksheet, and it starts where the little red cross is, the cursor. So if we want to do a calculation like 32 minus 9 and then press equals, it gives us the answer 23. If you want to do something slightly fancier, we want to do 32 minus 9, all divided by 5. Now if you do divided by 5, you'll see that Mathcad will only divide the 9 by 5, and that's down to these small blue lines that you can see. We call these the editing lines. And if I just backspace and get back to where I was, if I click on the space bar, I can move the editing lines to choose sections of the expression. And I want to divide all of 32 divided by 9 by 5. Well, let's divide it by 7. And then press equals, and it gives us a number. Okay, so you may have to hit the space bar to choose various parts of an expression. While we're here, any numerical output is given to 3 decimal places unless you double click on it and change the number of decimal places to, let's in this case, 6. And if you wanted to show trailing zeros, then you could choose that as well. That gives us a number to 6 decimal places. So you can experiment with that. We could also use some of the standard mathematical functions. For example, we have over here sine and cos and tan in the calculator toolbar. So let's try to work out the square root of 2345. And it's as simple as that. Okay, every one of these operators has a little name. So in this case it's the exponential, and sine, cosine, etc. Square root, you'll notice, also has a shortcut. So if you use the backslash, we get a square root. Each of these is just a number. Division, multiplication, we get using the asterisk, addition, etc., etc. Okay, so we could do some more complicated things, but I'll let you experiment with that yourself. One thing that we might want to do is define some functions which could be useful later on. So let's define one now. We want f of t to be equal to, oops, there's a mistake. If you use equals, you get this error. And that's because equals is reserved only for calculating numerical output. If I want to define this function, I have to use from the calculator toolbar the definition operator, which is colon equals. And you'll see that that has the shortcut, if I put the mouse over it again, of just a colon. So if I click on that, this allows me to define a function like t cubed. Hitting the space bar again there, you'll notice, to get from the red lines being around the 3 to being around the whole of t cubed, plus 2t minus 1. Once I've defined a function, I can work out the value of that function at various points. So if I wanted the function evaluated at 7 is 356, the function evaluated at minus 5 is minus 136. Now this brings into play a a little thing that you've got to be aware of. Mathcad calculates things by starting at the top of the worksheet and working down. So we have to make sure, if we're going to ask for the value of a function, that the function has been defined above the point at which we ask for that value. So for example, if I just get the little hand on that expression and drag it up the page and put it a little bit higher than the function is defined, it says the variable is undefined for obvious reasons. If I move it back down to just below where the function is defined, it still doesn't like it. There, it likes it there. Okay, so if in doubt, put things underneath, directly underneath, and you can rearrange things like that. We can also use delete to move things around. One other thing I'd like to do in this session is show you how to draw a graph. If we click where the red cursor is and then click for a graph, I can just put into the little placeholder on the y-axis. If I put in f of t and hit return, it will immediately draw a graph of the function f of t between the values -10 and 10 on the x-axis or on the t-axis. Okay, so I don't want it between -10 and 10. I want it between -5. So if I'll just do that again. Click on the graph. It allows me to choose limits -5 and 5 along the t-axis, and then it replots the graph. I don't like the axes being around the graph. I'd prefer to see the axes crossing at the origin. If I double click on the graph, I can choose crossed axes style and apply that and say OK, and I end up with a graph. If I want to plot something else on the same graph, for example, I might want to plot a sine wave. I've put the blue lines around f of t, and if you just press comma on the keyboard, then it allows you to input, let's put in sine of 2t and press return, and it's so small that you can't see it, so that was a bit of a mistake. Let's change it to 30 sine 2t. There you go, and now you can see it. And if it's a bit difficult to see, you can always change these limits here to, let's see, sorry, -50 as a lower limit and 50 as an upper limit. And there we are, and we can drag it to make it a little bit bigger if we wish. Okay, and that's about all you need to know as an introduction to Mathcad.